Welcome to Unit 9 of EDSE 510. This unit is a 2-week unit. You'll see that our topics are personal and emotional development and bullying. Particularly in the first part of our unit, personal emotional development, we're going to be taking a look at eligibility for support in these areas directly provided due to qualification under SED or serious emotional disability. Take a look at some of the factors for that. So that is our topic for this week, along with addressing the issue of bullying in schools and the issue of suicide, particularly suicide or bullying in relationship to students with disabilities and other populations within school settings, and strategies that we can utilize as educators and providers, along with whole school approaches that can be used by administrators at the building and district levels. So you'll see that we've got your assigned reading in Turnbull this unit. We do have the educational philosophy paper that will be due on the final Sunday of this unit at 11:59 p.m. So you do have the entire Unit 9 to work on this paper. While you are reviewing these topics and all of the content within the unit, there is not a discussion for this unit. So you'll see Unit 9 is split into 2 parts. We'll begin with Part 1. Part 1, you'll see the objectives here and the philosophy paper, which is highlighted in green. That will be due for us on the final Sunday of this unit, as we discussed. First, here you'll see multiple links and websites regarding depression and some other conditions or situations, areas of diagnosis that students may experience. So feel free to browse those. Additionally, you'll see a video here, and there is a transcript here. This video addresses topics of social emotional learning, or SEL, and even though the video is from several years ago, SEL has become an increasingly popular topic in the field for research and practice and implementation, and states and schools are looking for more resources on SEL for integration into content and curriculum, as well as standalone lesson planning. So you'll see here some of the backgrounds of SEL development, and that'll give you some context for what you or your school may be pursuing at this present time. There is a PowerPoint here, which is in alignment with the assigned reading for the unit. So we will take a look at that. For students with serious emotional disability, there is criteria, just as there would be in any eligibility category under the law. It's very important when we're identifying students as eligible under SED, and that could be in a reevaluation or in an evaluation for initial review for eligibility. The serious emotional disability must be observed over a long period of time, and this is also considered to be a marked degree. So many students, and arguably all students, encounter emotional or social challenges from time to time, as there are many different situations and variables that students encounter over their educational careers. Some of those could be issues outside of the home. Some of those may be issues within the school setting or with peers, as we will address bullying later in this video. It's very important when evaluating for SED eligibility that students demonstrate the major impact of these issues over an extended period of time across settings, to the point that their educational performance or access is significantly affected. So a student who's still accessing and performing in the school setting but deals with some emotional challenges would not be considered eligible under SED. We really have to look for that educational impact. And criteria for eligibility is included. Please do get on the CDE website, and if you just look up here and search SED, you can find that there's an enormous amount of information, a variety of resources and trainings. And if you just click on the SED page itself, you will see some professional development options, and if you click resources, the first choice here is eligibility guidelines. So we'll open that one up. And if you scroll down, you'll see right here near the start of the document that a child with a serious emotional disability will have social or emotional functioning which prevents a child from receiving reasonable educational benefit. So we recognize all this legal language from IDEA and special education law. So reasonable educational benefit from general education. And I won't read each of these because all of you can get on and review them point by point, but we really are looking for the inability to learn, not as a result of other factors. And this could come in with the interpersonal relationships. And that would be the inability to build or maintain these, interference with the child's social development, inappropriate types of behavior or feelings under normal circumstances. So this might be when we're looking at significant escalation, and that may emerge in physical aggression, in shutdown, in verbal aggression, or any kind of an episode, for instance, may result in a room clear. And those are not the only things that can fall into this category, but it's just a couple of examples. The student is unable to access due to these behaviors or feelings under these normal circumstances, and that reactivity or sensitivity. Also maybe seeing a pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression or physical symptoms and fears, and that falls under that somatization category. So assessments for SED eligibility will be looking for all of these, and then impairment in academic functioning and or impairment in social emotional functioning. And this is considered school functioning as well, because social development is a major part of that. You can even think about group or partner work in the school setting. So when we're looking for that educational impact, if a student is struggling so much with building or maintaining relationships, as we see here, that he or she is unable to operate in a group work setting or a partner work setting, or when working with a teacher, and that's relational problem continues to emerge, that's also an impact on educational function. So do keep in mind, there are many different ways that this can look, and of course every student is different. And then we do have to state that we have implemented a variety of interventions, and that this is pervasive and exists to a marked degree, rate and intensity above the child's peers. So we got to see different settings that could be home or some other place that the student spends majority of time outside of school, but we do need to see one of those environments being school, and it does need to exist over a period of time. So not in existence due to a family change or due to a move or due to some other circumstance outside of or inside of school, but it really needs to exist over time, not as an isolated incident. So PowerPoint does address that CDE criteria provided to us under those resources. Students with SED may have a variety of diagnoses, and those may fall into any of these categories. You'll see a lot of this in the DSM. Another one you might see is DMDD, Disruptive Mood Dysregulation Disorder. And DMDD is something that it is helpful and important to research. So you'll see NIMH here has information on DMDD. And this might be a diagnosis that you'll see in a child who later on may receive a different diagnosis, perhaps bipolar disorder or some other, but you may see this DMDD diagnosis earlier in life. So that might be a term or an acronym that you hear in addition to everything else listed here: anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. See some other disorders that develop over time, and post-traumatic stress disorder may also lead to eligibility under SED if those symptoms are so severe that they do impact that educational and social development within the school setting. You may see many different behaviors for students with SED. Those may be externalizing, internalizing, or both. So SED may withdraw, shut down, unable to engage or re-enter the school and the learning process and setting. You might see more of the aggression acting out. You might see verbal or physical aggression, and that can interfere with that social development as well as interfering with academic access. You might see students who are struggling academically. Sometimes that may be due to a learning disability that a student is also impacted by in addition to the SED, or it could be because the SED is preventing that educational access. So it's very important that the multidisciplinary team evaluate in all of these areas. You may see more dropping out, struggling with academic achievement, and externalizing behaviors can affect this, but also the internalizing or the shutdown and withdrawn behavior can allow a student to miss an extended period of time of instruction or work engagement. And there's also impact in the ability or preparation for post-secondary education or training. There may be language deficits or difficulties that go along with this SED, and that's also the case for learning disabilities or any other category of disability. There are obviously many different causes for some of these emotional and behavioral concerns, so you can research some of those. NIMH provides some great information. As you know, there are both environmental factors that can impact students in their emotional regulation or in their behavior, as well as some biological, neurological causes. There's information here about evaluation. You want to include rating scales. You may see observations, particularly mental health professionals will interview or provide rating scales to people at home, parents, guardians, or family members, as well as to general education and or special education teachers, others who have frequent contact with the student, to look for those SED criteria. And also, as appropriate or available, an interview with the student can be really helpful. Then we'll see the option for wraparound services. There is a link for assessing the fidelity of wraparound services, both fidelity of implementation and the appropriateness of which services are in place. So this is the website that link will go to. You can click on Spanish and English, many different forms that can be filled out to evaluate those services. It's just important to make sure that the right things are in place. So go ahead and take a look at those, and those are linked for you within this PowerPoint. Many different options for students with SED and what might be helpful. Lots of value in implementing educational initiatives with high interest subject matter, giving options, giving choice. For instance, if a student is in any level really interested in dinosaurs, you can give the opportunity to do a research project or presentation on that. Perhaps that wasn't the original prompt, but if the student's really interested in that, then you may get a lot more work production and still be practicing those research skills. Also, options for reading preferred books, etc. You may see value in walking breaks, movement breaks, other methods or modes to demonstrate learning, and that is dependent upon what the student needs, obviously, of course. You may see center-based programming for students with serious emotional disabilities, or they may receive mild to moderate special education services, or they may be in a separate school setting or even in an out-of-district placement, dependent upon the need of the student. Peer tutoring has also been a helpful thing for many students with serious emotional disabilities, getting that leadership opportunity and connecting with others in an educational focus. Here are some examples in the PowerPoint of accommodations that might be helpful, or other options for instruction, and then a reminder to plan for transition, make sure that students are on track, and that we are working with that multidisciplinary team and any transition liaisons with the school. There is a Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and programs that students can be referred to or connected with, along with that engagement with the counseling department, case manager, and administration as appropriate to make sure that those support plans are in place.